Peace and salute to all my American Aboriginals. Peace and justice to the Moors. Peace and justice to the Indians. Peace and justice to the rules. I want to address Mr. TarHarka. We can't call him Bay. He lost that. We taking that away. The Bays belong to the Americas. He said he from Africa. Be that. But you can't be called TarHarka Bay no more. I want to address that he said that there was no Negroes in America before slavery. I want to address that we've been here as Aboriginal to this land and everybody else are migrants, invaders. I want to show and prove that we've been here and other people saw that we was here. So let's get into some education, some information, and address Mr. TarHarka Bantu, or Mr. TarHarka Fulani, or Mr. TarHarka Zulu. Let's get into this information.
Africans and Negroes are two different peoples. Race and skin colour are really a red herring. Okay, it's a kind of divisive lie that has been put about, and I'm going to go into this a bit more in detail. But to separate people by perceived race is a distraction. Okay, so we all think that all black people are the same, basically, but they're not. Africans and Negroes are different. They have a different skeletal structure, different skull shape, and one interesting thing is African people, real Africans, cannot grow hair like Negroes can. So African men cannot grow beards. All right? African women cannot grow afros. Right? It's a very powerful thing. If you see real African women, you'll see that they've always got very, very short hair because they can't grow it.
Other race do you know, or have you ever known, that was called nigger, African American, black, all these damn different names, identities? That's identity theft. I am so tired of playing with the bullshit. You on your own fucking land, and you just sitting back, not speaking up, not going to council meetings, not saying nothing. Do your research and stop believe what people tell you the hell you are. I've always known, if I'm copper colored and Christopher Columbus found copper colored races on this land, who the hell you think was here? You still saying you came from Africa? You didn't come from, half of y'all didn't come from no damn Africa. So, I'm not talking to I'm not talking to the United States property or the United States citizen, but I'm not I don't belong to the United States. I'm an American.
They're not from Africa. No black people is from Africa.
They from out here, right?
You guys are literally from out here. Africans don't even want to be claimed with you guys. That's just the difference. Africans is totally separate.
Oh, where you from?
I'm from Liberia.
From Liberia. And you trying to tell these people that I'm trying to tell them that they're not African.
They're not.
They are already. I don't know why they don't want to hear.
There was black people already here, bro.
Already here, but they want to say.
And it wasn't even Native American, bro. It was just dark.
Right.
Here.
They want to say that I think they love slave boats, bro.
Realize is they migrated.
They love the slave boat. That's what it is.
Yeah.
But tell them again, black people.
Black people is not from Africa.
Say it louder.
But black people is not from Africa.
Black people is not from Africa.
Yeah, and anybody who said they're from Africa, bro, that's some dumb shit. Because Africans don't even fuck with people from here, bro.
Period.
Africans can tell you fucking Africans.
Period. The black people out here is not from Africa.
They're not from Africa. No black people is from Africa.
Why is it that black folks are always talking about black? Where? Do you know what tribe you descend from? My tribes don't descend from Africa. They descend from right here in the Savannah River. Yuchi, over 1,000 years. That's who we are. Through slavery, we're still here. Jim Crow, we're still here. The 50s and 60s, civil rights, we're still here. And we are here today. Yuchi. That's who we were. That's who we are. That's who we've been. That's who we continue to be. That's who I am today. I am a Yuchi Indian. Whether you want to call me a Yuchi Indian or Yuchi American Indian or Amerindian, I am Yuchi. TarHarka, children of the sun. This is who I am in the Savannah River Valley where my people have been for over 1,000 years. We are here. We didn't go to Oklahoma. We stayed and fought. Many of my ancestors have died. We're still here. I still have my practices. We know who we are. This is who we are. So you can call me colored, you can call me Negro, you can call me black. I am a Yuchi Indian.
Queen, and she don't know nothing about. They taught her about slavery in school. Her parents don't know nothing about their people being shipped here to America at all. And all y'all be saying, oh, West Africa, you from West Africa. Everybody from West Africa. She's from West Africa. Her parents don't know nothing about that story until they go to school. So y'all be saying I be tripping. I ain't been tripping.
This is Luis Agassiz. Again, Geological Sketches, 1866, this version of it. And we're going to go right to, basically, it's right in the beginning almost. And it says here, Contents, page 1, volume 1, America the Old World. America the Old World. Again, firstborn among the continents. Firstborn among the continents. Though so much later in culture and civilization than some more recent birth, America, so far as her physical history is concerned, has been falsely denominated the New World. Again, has been falsely denominated the New World. This is not the New World. This is the true Old World. Hers was the first dry land lifted out of the waters. Hers, the first shore washed by the ocean that enveloped all the earth beside. And while Europe, listen to this, while Europe was represented only by islands rising here and there above the sea, oh, sorry about that, America already stretched in an unbroken line of land from Nova Scotia to the far west. Again, America, the Old World.
And I want you to know this part of our history because people erased it. And we'll get to that later on in the program. Erased it intentionally. Erased it intentionally.
Why would so many people be covering up the evidence of earlier civilizations in the Americas? I think some people have called it a colonial cover-up, a colonial archaeological conspiracy.
There's two sides to this story. In one side of the story is the way America was conquered by basically Anglo-Saxons, and in that conquest of the Americas, what they confronted was an indigenous people who had inhabited that realm for tens of thousands of years, we now know. And the first thing they did was to attempt to exterminate them physically, to get them out of the way. And when that became objectionable, the next measure was to exterminate their culture, to rub it out, to pour scorn upon it, to say that it was of no value, that in a sense, the absurd and monstrous argument was that the Native Americans deserved what was done to them because they were supposedly not capable of any high culture. We now know that that's completely untrue, and that was a conspiracy. That was a conspiracy to destroy Native American culture and thus to legitimize the conquest and the massive theft of land. And it carried on into the 20th century with the so-called boarding schools, where Native American children, almost all of them, were taken away from their families. We've talked about hundreds of miles away and put in schools and taught that their culture.
Story time for you. So my family was one of those families, you know, we've got this much Cherokee in our ancestry, and they had some things to kind of back it up. There were like paintings or artifacts, you know, sort of things to be like, oh, actually, no, we do. So imagine their surprise when we did an ancestry test and none, zero, despite the glorious cheekbones, those not indigenous. But then where did these receipts come from to say that we did have this ancestry? It was a bit more sinister than the fam was expecting. Have you heard of the Cherokee land lotteries? I hadn't, but apparently my family won one. So when the Cherokees were ousted from their land, Trail of Tears, all of that, their land was lotteried off. My family bought into the raffle and won one of these plots of land with everything that was still on it from when the family was forcibly removed. This is why we had pictures and artifacts, things that my family just, whitewashed into our story of, oh, this is part of our history. I mean, when they talk about appropriation, y'all, in this time of banned books and suppressing narratives that don't look good on our country, it's important that we tell our stories so that people can know the truth of what happened.
It's the age of Aquarius, where the truth will be revealed. Divine family, dynasty tribe. Stay spiritually and intellectually dangerous. Keep ascending.
To show you the revolution only happens, the majority of revolution was only happening in the South. Okay? In the South. And it makes sense because if you go look around, you can Google the shit yourself. If you go Google all the reservations in America, all the single reservation in America, they are not in the South. Every single one of them is all the way up. We looking at area like Mexico, Alaska, all of these regions. It makes sense because these people are the second foreign groups of people that's going to play new identity, and they're going to strike a deal to denationalize our people moving forward as we are known today. So now, as you see in this picture, we're going to talk about the obvious because still, you're going to find people playing dumb and stupid. They're going to keep playing because all they have is sarcasm. They have to keep playing that game to try to devalue the truth. Now, some people are going to tell you straight up, right? How come Haiti, Brazil have a large amount of dark or indigenous skin, right? It's just to show you how stupid these people are. This is the validation they're going to use to tell you, oh, it's because they bring them from Africa. That's why they have this skin color. There's more of them like this than pale European or Euro-Asians. Why? It's simple, people. I know the story. Haiti was the only colony, and again, make no mistake, Haiti, what you call today Haiti, the original name is Haiti, okay? Pretty much that region was the richest region in the whole pretty much continent because it was completely filled not only with gold, it was the most lucrative in sugar and coffee. This is the #1 colony for Napoleon. Okay, so all the exploitations in that land was the majority of all of his resources was taken there because food was abundant. The land itself was anything you put on this land, it grow. But now understand why they were there. So now as the Haitian ancestors kick their ass, the indigenous army of our ancestors get their asses out. Now ask yourself, why IT have that many people with this skin tone? It's because they were the first to kick the invaders' asses out. Let me say this shit again. It's not that hard for you to understand. The region that you found in South America, region you found here in North America, they have a lot of pale-skinned people that identify as native today. Those regions was never get rid of these people. So these people settled there and they have their way with the population. So a lot of mixing going on, so they wash out the population because that population never kicked their invader asses out. That's the difference. That means these invaders sitting around and generations of populating with the population, and that's what you call conquered. So they conquer these regions. IT, get rid of them. So we maintain our birthright. That's why we didn't become lighter, because we got their asses out of there. Brazil uprising the same way. That's why Brazil, the majority is like this, because they kicked the invaders' asses out. So this is the truth. They're not telling you. You go to Jamaica, same shit. In Jamaica, they uprising too as the Maroon, because this is an all indigenous Taino Arawak. That's why there's majority. That's why everywhere you go in the Caribbean, the majority of the population looking like us. It's not because we African. It's because we defeated the outsiders. So if they have to pack and bounce. So once you go here in the United States of today, because it's a Mawukan, once you get here, the majority of populated, melanated people is going to be in the South. You don't find that ironic? Yes, because the South uprising against their asses, they kick their ass, they back and get their asses out of here. Okay? So that's the difference. Every area that's documented of uprising, of that we defeated them, you find majority of us maintain our birthright. Because the very first of our ancestors, the woman, the queen Anacaona, when Columbus shows up, she chose death before start to mix with them. Because the majority of these Europeans, they couldn't live past 5 years old. Their children couldn't last. Disease was killing these people over there in starvation. So they have to come here to survive. And one of them being survival, because the Moors know all about that, is genetic upgrading. Okay? So they need to tap on your room. They need to have babies with you to sustain their next generation, because they were dying too fast. If they passed 32 years old, this was the grace of the Most High, because they were dying too fast. So this genetic warfare was not a game. This is why you find now a lot of people claim to be Native American, but they don't look like our ancestors, because these people partaking in the genetic.
Check this out, y'all. This is a map from 1669. As you can see up here, Virginia and Florida, right? Let's see what kind of map this is. This is the map of the West Indies. Let me zoom in for you. So as y'all can see, Florida and Virginia was a part of the West Indies. We are all, majority of us are West Indian. We got Chesapeake Bay, that says our Powhatan, and we got Port-au-Prince of Haiti. We got Puerto Rico. I'm assuming that's Turks and Caicos. And we got the Yucatan. Now, I'm about to show y'all, like I said, we didn't come from no Africa. We were here, and we were Indians of the West, as you can see, and we call it that today, to this day, West Indies. First of all, shout out to Monty Muse, because he dropped his book in his last video, but this book proved my point in this video. Negro and the Negroid in the New World. The following is an approximately correct summary of the numbers and distribution of the Negroes and Negroids in the New World at the close of 1909. I don't see no African countries. What they're saying is they took us from down here and put us up here in the New World, United States. We did not all come from Africa. Peace and love, guys.
In the 1800s. And again, this is in the Bureau of Ethnology Library. All right. So we're on page 183, and it's in reference to the TarHarka Indians. All right. And it says here, in appearance, the TarHarka savage is, I think, a little above the average height of our own Indians in the Southwest. They are well built and very muscular, while the skin of the cave and cliff dweller is of the darkest hue of any American native I've ever seen, being almost a mixture of the Guinea Negro, with the average copper-colored Aborigine that we are so accustomed to see in the western parts of the United States. Again, the TarHarka.
All right, so real quick, just want to show you what I found in this book. It's a Spanish book. It's called Historia del Descubrimiento y Conquista, History of the Discovery and Conquest of America. It says written in German by the celebrated Campe and translated to Castellano, which is the old Spanish, by Don Francisco Fernandez Villabrilla. All right, so this was written in 1845. All right. All right, and I found this inside the book. It's like one of the only images. There's like 2 or 3 images in this book, and this is one of them. All right, so check it out. It's a so-called Negro or Negro. This is American Indian Aboriginal.
Crazy. And by the way, we're not black. How about that? We're not black, nigga. We're Indian. We're Native American. How many of y'all grandmothers got Indian in your family? Wait a second, but what happened to the Indians? We black. Show me black on the planet. Why you stopping for it?
Yeah, I understand, nigga. It's being reclassified as black, Negro, color, mulatto, all that crazy shit, nigga. They're the Indians, tribes, my nigga. I said, nigga, I ain't black, I'm an Indian. Couple tone, yeah, I'm brown skin. Ain't no Indian. African, your own brown skin. Organic to the land, indigenous. 37, no children. Yeah, that's the stolen land. But they don't got it with the band. Organic to the land. Ain't got no friends. Never come say the motherfucker stole this land.
Before actually the Creek word came into existence, which was created, there was Muskukali or Muskogee, as you may heard. Outside of that was Wali. My particular tribe was Yamasi. Yamasi was considered and is considered in the Industrial Commission, which is a congressional set, as being described factually as, for lack of a better word, African or Negro. We were one of the only tribes that were labeled that way, but were a part of the Muskogee Confederacy. History has proven, though, that we had a very large empire ourselves, being the only tribe that had upper and lower Yamasi. And within that, a lot of tribes you might have heard were a part of that confederation called Muskogee, which was actually Yamasi, which is the Ichiti, the Appalachian, the Oconee, the Salkehatchie, those different tribes, the Hupspa, all those were different villages and tribes under, quote, the Muskogee bloodline, but were actually Yamasi people and citizens or tribal.
Now let's take a look at this picture. This picture has been going around the net for a minute. They used this picture to try to prove that Indians had Negroes as slaves. But I want y'all to take a close look at this picture. Now, y'all might not think that Photoshop wasn't way back then, but I guarantee you Photoshop was way back then. Look at this. Look at the hands and look at the face. They don't match. Somebody playing games. And y'all be sitting here wondering why we be on the net going super ham for the information. Cause we be pointing out stuff like this. This ain't right. And you paying boo-boo to be defending the fuckery. That's why y'all can't be trusted. But this picture here, this speaks a lot of words. There's some foolery going on. These hands don't match that face. It's black. It's a black hand. It's a Negro hand. Both of them. Neither one of these faces fit the body. They're trying to play games with us, man. Y'all gonna continue letting them play?
Let's talk about this picture right here. I see this picture always get shown when talking about natives had Negroes as slaves. That's far from the truth. These Mongolian-looking people were in teepees. They didn't have a farm to have slaves. The ones that did have slaves were the black tribes, the Cherokees, the Choctaws, and the Chickasaws. They wasn't in teepees. They were in homes. They had farmland. Come on now. Y'all got to start using your brain. We can't let this ride any more longer. This must stop. Stop spreading misinformation. Get out your feelings. Be a student and learn the real truth.
It says, all the way back on January 3rd, 1845, in regards to the annexation of Texas, the stupendous deserts of the Nueces and the Bravo rivers are the natural boundaries between the Anglo-Saxon and the Mauritanian races. When have you ever heard them refer to Mauritanian races, meaning groups of different types of Moors, Mauritanians, which is a Latin term. That's a Latin word. That's not English. That's Old Latin. So when we talk about Mauritania over there, Mauritius over there, find out when they were founded. The Anglo-Saxon and the Mauritanian races, there ends the Valley of the West, there Mexico begins, thence the Bravo begin, the Moorish people and their Indian associates, ... to whom Mexico properly belongs. Mexico meaning all of the land. Okay, so that means then 150 years before that, all of this land over here was a part of the United States, the Societas Republicae y los Moracanos Estados. The Moracanos is where we get the Mauritanian from because it's all Latin. And the only people that were speaking Latin over here was us. And all of the so-called Mauritanian Moorish peoples were already over here looking like this. So we already proved who the Americans are. You see that? You see, and they're Indian associates, which means the Indians were at the bottom. The people referring to themselves as Indians, see what I'm saying? If I have a law firm and the law firm is Hancock and Associates, who do the associates work for? This is why Jackson broke all the treaties, because they had no direct jurisdiction over the land to treat it.
Here's a perfect example of a Moor and its Indian associate. It wasn't talking about the Mongolian people. Remember, they were in teepees. They didn't have farmland. So they wasn't a part of the trade of the great nation of Northgate. It was the Negroes. The Negroes were the farmers. The Negro owned the land. The Moor is just simply saying the royal people, the people who was handling business, the people who was handling contracts, people who was handling the big business, holding everything together. The nobles. They wasn't talking about the Mongolian people. So let's stop putting them in Indian business.
Be consistent is an understatement. Thousands of years of history have been omitted from what we were taught. What makes you Jamaican? And what makes this island Jamaica? History is a weapon. And much of the history that we were fed in school is a fiction. But it was told to us in order to make us accept that England has a legitimate claim to own the island, fair and square. And that we are merely immigrants here, so we can't really challenge their ownership, can we? And that we are responsible for the debts that our government incurs. Christopher Columbus was not an explorer. There were no such people as Arawak Indians. There was no transatlantic slave trade. There's no such island as Jamaica. We were never given independence in 1962. We are not Jamaican. The government is not ours. They told you that this is what the Arawak look like. This is what they look like. These are the original Amaru Khans.
Let's see how they turned the Indian into the Negro. The Negro Act of 1740 turned Indians not at peace with the government into slaves in the 18th century using pen and paper. And then these Indians that they declared to be slaves were then declared to be extinct. The Racial Integrity Act was another act of paper genocide on American Indians. Negro Act 1790. Section 1, the Act of 1740, Section 1 declares all Negroes and Indians, free Indians in amity with the government, Negroes, mulattoes, and mestizos who are now free, accepted to be slaves, the offspring to follow the condition of the mother, and that such slaves are chattels personal. Skin tone was the evidence that made a slave a Negro, mestizo slave, or an Indian slave. What in their eyes was the Negro color and the Indian color. Natives, the ones people think of when they think of natives, sure don't go around talking about getting enslaved in the 18th century and made extinct due to this act, do they? Generally, they barely ever talk about being enslaved at all, but the Indians were, which is why we call ourselves Indians and not Native Americans. Section 3, Indians and the descendants of Indians are regarded as free Indians. Well, who are the free Indians? These are the free Indians. So there were Indians who were at peace with the government at the time and Indians who were not. Once they made Indians who weren't at peace with the government into slaves through this act, they declared these Indians extinct on paper. They were now slaves instead of Indians. These are classes and statuses. Their descendants inherited their slave status passed on by the mother. Negro, Black became their new slave statuses, and their descendants and people who had a certain phenotype that they deemed to be so-called Black or seemed to have a little more Black in them are now classified as Black and African American. Remember, we talked about the Racial Integrity Act of 1924? It proclaimed the existence of only two racial categories, colored and white. The law stripped Native Americans and members of other groups with dark skin of their land, voting rights, and legal identity. The fight for our freedom started in 1863 with the Emancipation Proclamation, but this is the Civil Rights Act, aka the Indian Civil Rights Act, aka Rat Brown Law. Now, what's that? It's when Herbert Rat Brown made it possible for us to vote. Yes, all of these laws and legislations are about us.
What y'all have to understand is these Native Americans on these reservations, they can't comprehend knowledge. Like the things that we're coming out and exposing and showing the documents, showing evidence, debunking ancestry DNA tests, showing that Africa is beautiful. If we was actually African, we would be proud to be African. We would be African, but we're not. Genetically, we are not African. We did not come from Africa. See now when we show them that, they can't comprehend that. So you have to stop going back and forth with these people. Remember, these people, they don't really get taught how to read on these reservations. They don't like their intelligence isn't up there. So when they see this, they just get mad and they want to argue back and forth. And then you got Mexicans talking about they need our help on June 1st. No. Just keep waking us up. Stop going back and forth with these people.
The Indians are of a copper or red clay color. Copper, red clay.
Look at number 11. The dark-skinned natives indigenous to the Western Hemisphere, aka Indians, were reclassified during the 17 and 1800s as Negro and Coloreds. 13. Pale-skinned natives came about as a result of the original dark-skinned natives breeding with pale-skinned Europeans. A light-skinned native born from this union would again breed with a pale-skinned European. Thus, the progeny of this union would become more pale or genetically recessive. After centuries of this breeding process, eventually produced the pale-skinned native of the Western Hemisphere. I mean, we did have about 500 years. You know what I'm saying? The dark-skinned natives who did not mix with their seed still endure. The U.S. government has reclassified most as Black Americans or African Americans, which they are not. Number 14, certain dark-skinned natives indigenous to the Western Hemisphere, aka Indians, were given an ultimatum: go to Oklahoma and be an Indian on the reservation, or stay where you are and be reclassified as Negro or colored. And then number 16, here are the earliest examples of sambos. Dark-skinned natives indigenous to the Western Hemisphere, aka Indians, who embraced the Spanish culture during the colonial era, either by choice or by force, have found themselves engulfed or assimilated into Spanish culture and the Spanish language. Now, most of them have lost the knowledge of themselves and their true identity. They have been reclassified as Latino or Hispanic.
Now let's talk about this portrait right here. Now this is very deep. And I don't know why they would even paint a picture like this if it ain't true. Why would they even mess with the people's mind and play with this type of subject? Let's take a close look at who Christopher Columbus brought for the king and the queen. Me, it look like Aboriginal, not colored people. Negroes look like they got afro. What else we have here? Most people would think these look like Africans. But now let's go and pay attention to detail. What do we see? Pineapples. And we know pineapples is an American fruit. The origin is in America. Now, why would they do this? Why would they put this much detail in this picture for it to be fake? Look at the exotic birds that you can find in the islands, Brazil, South America, Mexico. Look at the jewelry they wearing. Look like Negroes to me. They eat coconuts, and we all know coconuts are America. So I don't know what to say now. It's like we be dropping opening closed case evidence, and y'all just being super denial. All I know is we dropping a lot of gems, and I see it's a lot of hate. Y'all should humble yourself and be students and learn. Stop trying to jump the gun. Just go for the pan boo boos, the NAs, all the above. Ain't no way. Ain't no way we can skip over all this. Why would we skip over all this? Would you skip over this? If this was your people? Come on, let me know.
Let's read this again. America, known to the mystics as Atlantis, when this ruin befell, was the seat of the greatest empire that have ever existed, right? Was the seat of the greatest empire that have ever existed, right? And its irresistible armies, which terrorizing all of Europe and fucking Asia. Right? And its irresistible armies, which terrorizing all of Europe and fucking Asia. Was the seat of the greatest empire that have ever existed, right? And its irresistible armies, which terrorizing all of Europe and fucking Asia.
The Negro is still languished in the corners of American society and finds himself in exile in his own land, and finds himself in exile in his own land, and finds himself in exile in his own land, and finds himself in exile in his own land, and finds himself in exile in his own land.
Is tied up in the destiny of America. Before the Pilgrim Fathers landed at Plymouth, we were here. Before Jefferson etched across the pages of history the majestic words of the Declaration of Independence, we were here. Before the beautiful words of the Star-Spangled Banner were written, we were here. Before the Pilgrim Fathers landed at Plymouth, we were here. Before Jefferson etched across the pages of history the majestic words of the Declaration of Independence, we were here. Before the beautiful words of the Star-Spangled Banner were written, we were here. Before the Pilgrim Fathers landed at Plymouth, we were here. Before Jefferson etched across the pages of history the majestic words of the Declaration of Independence, we were here. Before the beautiful words of the Star-Spangled Banner were written, we were here. Before the Pilgrim Fathers landed at Plymouth, we were here. Before Jefferson etched across the pages of history the majestic words of the Declaration of Independence, we were here. Before the beautiful words of the Star-Spangled Banner were written, we were here. Before the Pilgrim Fathers landed at Plymouth, we were here. Before Jefferson etched across the pages of history the majestic words of the Declaration of Independence, we were here. Before the beautiful words of the Star-Spangled Banner were written, we were here.
And finds himself in exile in his own land.
Before the Pilgrim Fathers landed at Plymouth, we were here. Before Jefferson etched across the pages of history the majestic words of the Declaration of Independence, we were here. Before the beautiful words of the Star-Spangled Banner were written, we were here.
And finds himself in exile in his own land.
And at one point, years and years ago, generations ago, the Choctaw basically, the land that is now known as Mississippi was Choctaw land.
Well, that was the last 100 years. In the beginning, the whole South, what is now known as the South, was one republic, one nation. And the center, and this ran from Texas, Louisiana and Texas, west of the Mississippi River in Arkansas, all the way to the Atlantic Ocean, and from the Gulf Coast all the way to Virginia. And they all spoke the same language, and so this was the system that existed when the Europeans came. Now, even the Europeans acknowledged that I think they call them the 7 civilized tribes, but of course the historians credit the Choctaw with being the most highly advanced of them all, and actually how the Choctaw and Mississippi come. The governing district, like Washington, D.C., was always Mississippi, central Mississippi. And as the territory became smaller, ultimately, only Mississippi and Alabama was left. And then in the end, only Mississippi was left. So that is how the process went.
I understand that is it your great-great-grandfather was one of the last official elected leaders of the Choctaw Nation.
Right. You see, right. It was my great-great-grandfather. And his name was General Sam Cobb. Now, of course, by the 1800s, almost all Native Americans east of the Mississippi River had taken on European names, and that but he was pure Native American, and his rank was, of course, British, because most all of the European nations gave, they either, you hear the French and Indian War, but every war almost, you had the Native Americans fighting either on one side or the other for the European. And of course, before he became the elected national leader, he was for many years an officer in the British and particularly in the American.
Okay, so this is who we talking about right here. This is Satriona, a Mississippian emperor from Florida. We know this information because the Met Museum did an entire article on identifying him. Okay, so let's take a look at the National Park Service, U.S. Department of Interiors. This is the archaeology program. Take a look at the timeline. 5000 BC to 1000 AD. The first mounds in the southeast used mainly to bury the dead were probably constructed around 8000 BC to 1000 BC. Okay, by around 800 AD, a distinct way of life was developing in the lower delta. Okay, check this out. 1000 to 1200 AD, everything is still cracking, untouched. No foreigners are coming in. We're not dealing with anybody outside. We're undisturbed. The whole way of life is still developing, still progressing. Everything is still cracking. Agricultural communities, storehouses of crops that are being harvested, just totally in a powerful position, totally in a complete position of power, unlike those that are across the water, that are coming from Europe, that are in desert lands in Africa. Okay, this is a old...
I ain't gotta come up with a stage name, this ain't entertainment for the slow and brainless. I ain't gotta come up with some lies about who and why to be with your black and famous. I'ma tell the truth and nothing but it, even if it's out of my constructed budget. Sinners mad, then I'm winning bad. Get a pen and pad, you gon' like the leaven. I'm a copper-colored individual, descendant of the Aboriginals. Warrior be that, believe that, I be that. Why haters looking sad and pitiful, miserable. They all suffer from the Africa's our home fetish. When that story came for white Jews by the busloads, no Jerome Bettis, you should know better. Researching, not taking somebody else's word for it. Fact is, what a fact is opinionated what you heard for us. His story, how the hell you getting millions of Africans and you come back again? Or crossing Atlantic with 20 to man and ran an immaculate. You ain't fooling me. I can read through you little bum actors. That whole slave trade story was told to us as another fear-mongering tactic. They're suppressing your growth, decimating your potential to link, quelling us and rising, telling us about it. How we come about it, just make you think.
Well, what is the difference between Bunch and one of them? The difference is Bunch doesn't know his history.
Now let's take a look at these photos. TarHarka looked more like a Aboriginal American than an African. Just take a look at his phenotype. Look at his nose and look at the Mayan nose. Look like the same people. Show me an African portrait, painting, carving that looks similar to this man. The number one thing of being a scientist is observing, like looking through a telescope. Right now, we're looking through our telescope. And Mr. TarHarka, you look like a Mayan.
Moors in America.
Hey, Savage. Hey, Savage, real quick. Hey, Savage, where is this image from, Savage?
Spain.
Look at that nose, bro. No, this is before Christ. This is ancient Tiwanaku over there in Peru.
Look at that nose.
The Andeans.
Oh, I'm connected to them.
Yeah, you thought that. Hey, I understand why. Oh yeah, because that look like a Moor with a fez on.
But
way before 7-Eleven. Way before 7-Eleven.
Yeah.
Bro, you fucking with the first person that damn sure proved Moors in America, bro. And I ain't talking about this.
Bro, Moors was never in America until 1868, bro.
Bro, you can't say that, bro. Stop saying stuff.
Bro, do you not see what's in front of you, bro? What are you talking about?
Hold on. What interpreter did Columbus come with? What interpreter did he come with?
Hold on. Did he just say Moors wasn't in America until 1868?